you die.
Okay. All right. So we just listened through I Prevail's new album, True Power. Now we're going to talk about it and take turns telling our thoughts, take turns telling our ratings. So, Jordan, what were your thoughts on True Power?
Um, it was one where I said in the beginning, if you review it like a pop album more than like review it as a metalcore album, it works a lot more. Uh, I feel like it would work a lot more if you look at it that way. It's like a like a heavy like alternative rock thing,
Yeah, like
and
I keep
then
seeing like
mixed
post
with heavier
hardcore.
sounds.
I keep seeing them
That's
called
definitely not
post
right.
hardcore, but
That's not
which is
right at all.
weird. Yeah, like some moments of it feel post hardcore, but like overall, like it feels like way too heavy
There's not
for
really any there's not like hardcore really. It's more just like heavy, you know.
post metalcore. Is that a thing? Does that exist?
Like like Breaking Benjamin, like they have screams, they have breakdowns and stuff, and they're heavy and they're like low tuned guitars and stuff, but it's not metalcore. But there are those elements there, you know. So if you look at it more like in that kind of genre, like alternative, like heavy rock or whatever, it works a lot
Yeah,
more like that. So
radio. Which I mean, that's I
yeah,
prevail is that they do play them on the radio. So
yeah. So if you're looking for, let's say, if you're looking for something heavy but not metalcore, this is probably the best thing you could go, because post-hardcore is more, you kind of have to be a fan of that kind of like more emo stuff. That's a lot different than this. This is not, there's not really a lot of like angst or like anything. It's more like, I don't know, just like kind of like poppy stuff, you know, like
yeah,
they're
there's
singing about
edge.
like
There's edge, but not
there's edge,
angst.
like yeah, like with like kind of like the rapping parts a little bit. Like there's like that aggressiveness, but like it's not it's not like super, you know. So I kind of enjoyed that aspect of it. It's not like, you know, it's not just one thing, and it wasn't all just like one song was just heavy and then there was like a light song. Like it is more blended, I feel like, which is kind of good. There
Yeah,
was a couple songs, like one or two, like the last song, and it was fuck what you think, would you know, that one. I feel like those were kind of like a little bit more like the standout, like lighter tracks. But otherwise, there is still like the elements of heaviness in
yeah.
pretty much each song.
There was
Like
basically
especially
a
in the
breakdown.
guitars.
There was basically a breakdown in every song. Some were more fake downs, but there was still those heavy sections in like
Yeah.
every song.
Yeah, so I can commend them for not just going straight, you know, one way or the other. They kind of blend it more, and they kind of let it, you know, kind of do its thing. Also, I don't think they did like a lot of like third choruses really. The songs were kind of like chorus, verse, but like they just kind of, you know, they, instead of like the third
Yeah,
chorus, they'll
they
have
were. Like I
like a
said, they were all
breakdown or like
pretty short.
some other, yeah, so they're all short and to the point. It's actually feels a lot shorter than it looks. So I can definitely commend them for that, because there's a lot of albums where like it's the same length, but like just how the songs are structured and stuff, like
Yeah,
adding third choruses and stuff makes the songs feel a lot longer than they really are. So I like that they kind of kept it a little bit shorter. Yeah, I like the flow of the album too. Is uh, they kind of grab you with the heaviness a little bit, with a
yeah,
little bit
definitely right up front.
of
Yeah,
like the radio, but then they kind of like mellow out a little bit, and it kind of has like its flow. Which uh, albums that aren't like concept albums and stuff, having a good flow definitely brings it up a different level, because having a concept with it just kind of brings a type of flow already because there's a story and then, a story has like
Yeah.
the beginning, the middle, and the end, and the climax and all that. So, um, having it like that definitely brought the level up. So it was still generic, but not generic as in like it really got like annoying or like
Not like or
grating on me.
boring either. Yeah.
Boring, yeah. It's just pretty just standard like alternative heavy rock, you know, a little bit metalcore thrown in
Yeah,
there.
metalcore. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's like right on that. It's right on that cusp, basically. Like,
You can tell they grew up listening to Linkin Park, and then a little bit later they got into like heavier stuff, like a little bit of metalcore, but you can definitely tell that the like the new metal and like more like accessible stuff is kind of like their thing. So,
yeah, like
um,
I said, very issues. Issues is very had a lot. I think Jay said he classifies issues as new metal. And like in with that scope, like this is a lot like issues. Really, it is not as technical,
yeah,
or they don't have a so
progressive.
issues has yeah issues has a little bit more progressive, has a little bit more of that emotional feeling to it. Um, but this is I would say that this is still like in that realm of feeling.
Yeah, so I really like the guitars. The guitars were nice and loud. They just kept that heaviness going throughout. Um, there's a lot of like light. I don't. I wouldn't say it's light synth. There's like some synth in the background to really fill out the sound. The album sounds actually like really big. Um,
Yeah, especially
without
the first
sounding.
track was felt like very epic. It was a very
Yeah,
good opening.
it sounded big without sounding super overproduced, which is a good thing. The vocals were, you can definitely tell there's a little bit of auto tune, but that's more of just like the
Aesthetic.
style,
Yeah.
like pop, pop music, and the it kind of blends a little bit more with like the synth and stuff like that. The screams, they were. I wish there was a little bit more, um, but he had a pretty good range. There was some songs where he had like some lows, some highs, pretty like mid. He was also doing the singing, which is also cool. So
Yeah.
it's cool whenever they can do both at the same time. Kind of like issues with Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was still pretty generic, but I'm not mad that I listened to it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Cold Rain where it's just kind of like it got too poppy.
What'd you think about the
Just a
last
nice
track,
happy thing.
the ending with
I
the
really think they probably should have switched it with the
the
what was it,
visceral?
the
Yeah,
closure
visceral was a
song.
good. I actually really liked that
Visceral or
song.
closure. Yeah.
Yeah, I really
Yeah,
liked
that one
that
was
second
really
to last
good.
track. So yeah, I could see like switching that would be nice, or maybe
Yeah.
just having, or maybe even just like cutting that the piano part to maybe like just like a minute like long like outro kind of thing would be work
Yeah.
as well, something like that.
Yeah.
But
Overall, I'd say I'd enjoyed it.
yeah,
Definitely
uh,
wasn't bored.
so I put got my notes here. I'd say the biggest. I'm gonna start with a negative for me. A lot of the choruses and overall the kind of lyrics in general, the um, very corny, just kind of generic. Nothing. It
Yeah.
reminded me of like if you remember the Upon a Burning Body album that we listened to, how like none of the lyrics really like did anything. Like they just like were there to just sound good. Like it just
Yeah.
was kind of they were just there.
There for the vocals.
Nothing really like hit me emotionally, not no
Yeah.
shade to them for their writing or anything. If it meant something to them, that's good. But to me as the listener, I just didn't really. So that was the biggest negative for me. Still better than I literally wrote. Still better than A Day to Remember. I've had a comparison for A Day to Remember and like I Prevail because they both play them on the radio, and I would 10 times over rather listen to this than new A Day to Remember so far. So that's a very positive. Production was pretty great. Guitar tone, I think the guitar was my favorite part. There was a lot of like nice like little like hints of like very nasty riffs. Like they had like very cool like
Hmm.
they he got some dirty licks in there. And it was very clean, and clean sounding. I just really liked the guitar, how it worked throughout pretty much the whole album. Fortunately, there were a lot of blue ball breakdowns, but I think, again, like with the genres and just how they are, like they get played on the radio, so I think they keep that in mind. They don't want to go too heavy, to where they lose out on some audience, but they have it. I think they have it like just enough heavy, to fit their sound, which is a good thing. Yeah, I think it works for them, because there were some pretty decent breakdowns. There was a decent amount of fake downs too, but it all kind of blended together pretty well. Honestly, I liked that all the songs were very short. None of them were over 4 minutes, and with 15 tracks, in there, I think it worked out overall. It didn't feel like it was dragging or anything like that. So I think they structured all their songs very well, keeping them nice and short, kind of simple in formula. Although, like I said, the breakdowns were like very. They kind of kept me on their toes. Like I couldn't tell, if it was going to be like a heavy breakdown, or it was going to be like a pick it up. There was the one that like turned into like a solo. So they had their own like little flares in there, that I think worked out for them. I do want to say another detraction for me. I'm starting to care about this more and more. No true visualizer. I do give them kind of a point for, at least they do have a different like little picture and animation for each song. However, if you're gonna go through that effort, you might as well just put the lyrics on the screen. Just put the lyrics on the screen. It doesn't take that much more effort. I don't know what label they're on or anything.
Fearless?
Yeah, Fearless. So I feel like they could just spend a little extra bit of budget to go a little bit further in there. Because they had 3 music videos. Just put some lyrics on the screen, and it just helps. I say it in pretty much every review that we do. Bands need to do that more often. We're in the age of everything's on a screen, so use that to your advantage. It doesn't just have to be sound. Put some images in there, which they kind of did, but not not all the way. Other than that,
Akldama level.
yeah, that album ruined me. That album spoiled me. So now I have a standard, and no one seems to meet it. But for the overall structure of the album, I thought it was pretty good. It started very epic. The first song, you had the little you had the kind of like an intro style song, and then into the big sounding epic heavy song. Great way to start an album and catch you. And they had the next 3 songs, which were also fairly heavy. Kind of started going off into more like poppy sections. There was more poppy choruses and stuff, and like a lot of more electronics. And then it started picking up a little bit heavier at the end, again with that like visceral at the end. But then they put the last track, which was the little piano electronic acoustic thing in there, which we discussed in Jordan's section. I think they could have switched those or cut it down or something, just to give it a little extra oomph at the end. But overall, again, I didn't hate it. I liked it. It was a fun listen. I think it definitely worked out for them, and it was better than I expected for sure. So, rating wise, what would you rate this?
I'll go ahead and give it a 7. Right around there, so average. I think I'm gonna move some other stuff on my list down, thinking about it, going back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
The thing is,
the level of, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm hoping. So I'm hoping that some more like really big sounding like. I need some like great albums to come out the rest of the year, because a lot of the albums we've been listening to are like 7 or 8s. Like everything is around a 7 or 8 this year.
Yeah.
There's very few that are like high up there. Yeah, like you said, I can see these like this would be like a high 7. I think this was pretty good. Over some of the other 7s that we've given out. So I don't know. It's kind of just a side point that I'm hoping that we get something really big soon, because we're at the end of August already. This shit flying by, and we do have Ocean State, Alaska coming out soon. So, but rating wise, Yeah, I'm with you. I'll give it a 7 too. I think at the beginning I was kind of thinking more of an 8. Um, if it had kept that energy from those first few songs, I think we're really had really they really had me there at the beginning. It didn't really detract or anything. The rest of the songs were still good. I don't think there was any one single song that I was just like, wow, this is balls. There was one slower song, but like, not the one at the end, but the other one. I don't remember which one it was. Um, but still, overall, like, there was nothing I would think I would really take out here. So yeah, I'll give it a 7. Overall, still better than I expected. From they're kind of a meme band in the metalcore community. Everyone's like, oh, you listen to heavy music, you must like I Prevail, etc. etc. They're that kind of band. A lot of people don't really take them seriously. Kind of like Our Last Night. Um, I think they have talent. They're talented musicians. They do have potential. And I think they hit some of those potential notes on this album for me. So I think it worked out. So good job. I Prevail.